I was standing in my childhood living room when my father screamed that I was a parasite who only takes and never gives anything to the family. My mother and sister Jenna sat frozen on the couch, watching in silence. Dad's face was red with rage as he delivered the final blow. If you had any pride left, you would leave right now. My chest tightened, but I said nothing. I walked upstairs, threw clothes into one bag, and came back down. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. I walked past all of them, out the front door, got in my car, and drove away without looking back. Not one of them tried to stop me. My hands shook on the steering wheel as I drove to the cheapest motel I could find on the edge of town. The neon sign flickered in the darkness, advertising rooms for $39 a night. I checked in, walked into a room that smelled like old cigarettes and cleaning chemicals, and sat on the edge of the bed. The springs creaked under my weight. I stared at my phone, waiting for it to ring, waiting for a text, waiting for someone to say they were sorry, that Dad went too far, that they wanted me to come home. The screen stayed dark. I thought about the past 6 years of my life. I am 29 years old now. I work as a financial analyst at a mid-sized firm downtown. After I graduated college at 23, I landed a decent job making $48,000 a year. It was not much for the city, but it was a start. I was proud. My parents were proud. Everything seemed to be falling into place. Then, when I was 24, Dad had a massive heart attack. I remember the phone call from Mom, her voice breaking as she told me they were rushing him to the hospital. I drove there doing 80 miles per hour on the highway, praying he would make it. He survived. 3 bypass surgeries, 2 weeks in intensive care, and another month in recovery. But the medical bills were catastrophic. Even after insurance, they owed over $300,000. I watched my parents age 10 years in 10 weeks. They faced bankruptcy. They were going to lose the house they had lived in for 32 years. Dad could not work for months. Mom tried to pick up extra shifts as a school secretary, but it was nowhere near enough. I saw them drowning, and I made a decision. I started sending them $4,000 every month. I told them it was from a supplemental insurance policy that Dad's employer had finally processed. I made up paperwork. I forged letters. I created an entire fiction so that Dad would not have to feel like he was taking charity from his own son. His pride was too fragile for that. Mom believed the story completely. Dad never questioned it because questioning it would mean admitting he needed help from me, his son who was supposed to still be building his own life. The truth was simpler and more brutal. I was paying everything out of my own salary. $4,000 a month, $48,000 a year, for 5 straight years. But that was not all. When I went through their paperwork to help them organize the medical bills, I discovered that Jenna's college fund had been completely depleted to pay for the early medical expenses. She was 3 months into her freshman year at State University when I found out. The tuition was $28,000 per year. She had 3.5 more years to go. I called the university financial aid office. I told them I wanted to be an anonymous donor for a student. They set it up. Every semester, I paid $14,000. Jenna received a letter saying she had been awarded a full scholarship from an anonymous benefactor. She told everyone it was a merit scholarship. She never questioned why a merit scholarship would come from an anonymous source rather than the university itself. She did not want to question it because questions would have ruined her story. So for 5 years I paid for everything. $4,000 a month to my parents. $28,000 a year for Jenna. That is $76,000 every year. I was making $62,000 at that point. The math did not work. So I worked overtime. 60-hour weeks became 70-hour weeks, then 80. I took every extra project, every weekend assignment, every holiday shift. I lived in a 400-square-foot studio apartment in a neighborhood where I heard gunshots at night. I drove a 2004 sedan that broke down every other month. I ate ramen noodles and rice for dinner. I owned 4 shirts, 3 pairs of pants, and 1 pair of shoes that I had resoled twice. When my college girlfriend Emma asked me to move in with her to a nicer place, I said I could not afford it. When she asked why I lived the way I did when I had a good job, I made excuses. Eventually, she left me. She said I had no ambition. She said I was wasting my potential. She said she wanted a partner who acted like he had a future. I let her go because I could not tell her the truth. The truth would have made me sound like a martyr, and I did not want to be a martyr. I just wanted my family to be okay. When I needed more money, I opened credit cards. Just for emergencies, I told myself. But emergencies happened every month. The car would break down. My parents would mention needing a new water heater. Jenna would need a laptop for school. I put it all on credit. The interest piled up. I started taking cash advances to pay the minimum payments on other cards. I was drowning, but I kept my head above water just enough to keep sending the money. 2 years ago, I was offered a promotion to senior analyst. It came with a $20,000 raise and relocation to the company's office in another state. I turned it down. My boss was confused. Everyone was confused. It was a career-making opportunity. But I could not leave. What if something happened to Dad again? What if Mom needed help? What if Jenna had an emergency? I needed to stay close. So I stayed, and I watched as the guy who got the promotion instead of me moved into the career I should have had. The confrontation that ended everything happened 3 days ago. It was Sunday. I went to my parents' house for dinner like I did every week. I always brought something. A pie from the store, a bottle of wine, a bag of groceries, small things. Things that would not make Dad feel like I was helping too much. Dad was in a mood that night. He had been watching the news, complaining about the economy, about taxes, about everything. Then Jenna mentioned she wanted a car for her senior year. Something used, nothing fancy. Just something so she did not have to take the bus. Mom immediately said they should help her. Family helps family, she said. Dad turned to me. His face changed. What about you, Weston? You come here every week. You eat our food. You sit at our table. What do you contribute? I froze. I had no answer that I could give. The truth was impossible to speak. He kept going. You are almost 30 years old. You take and take. We raised you. We fed you. We paid for your college. And what have you given back? Nothing. Not a thing. I tried to speak. Dad, you do not understand. He cut me off. I understand perfectly. You are selfish. You have never given this family anything. You take our time, our food, our love, and you give nothing back. I looked at Mom. She looked away. I looked at Jenna. She stared at her plate. Nobody defended me. Nobody said a word. Dad stood up. His chair scraped against the floor. If you had any pride left, you would leave right now. Just go. We do not need you here taking from us anymore. So I left. I went upstairs to my old bedroom, the one they still kept for me even though I had not lived there in 6 years. I packed one bag with the few things I kept there. I walked back downstairs. They were all still in the dining room. I walked past them without a word. I got in my car. I drove away. And now I am here, sitting in this motel room, staring at my phone. I opened my banking app. My checking account showed $712. My savings account showed 0. I had 3 credit cards maxed out at a combined total of $43,000 in debt. I had been borrowing money on credit cards to make the monthly payments to my parents when my salary and overtime were not enough. I was trapped in a cycle I could not escape. The next tuition payment for Jenna's spring semester was due in 3 weeks. $14,000. I did not have it. I could not get it. I was tapped out. Every credit line was maxed. Every resource was drained. I sat there in that terrible motel room and made a decision. I was going to stop. I was going to let them find out the hard way what I had been giving. I was going to let the truth come crashing down on them, and I was going to watch it happen from a distance. I felt cold, empty, but also, for the first time in 5 years, I felt something like relief. The first week without them was strange. I did not realize how much mental space my family had occupied until they were gone. I moved through my days in a fog, working, sleeping, working again. I stopped the automatic payment to my parents. $4,000 that would stay in my account for the first time in 5 years. Except my account was so overdrawn from previous months that the money just went to covering my negative balance. I sent an email to the university financial aid office. I informed them that I was withdrawing my sponsorship of Jenna's tuition effective immediately. They replied with a standard form thanking me for my previous generosity and confirming that the student would be notified of the change in funding status. I stared at that email for a long time before I deleted it. My mother called twice that first week. I let it go to voicemail. I could not talk to her. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Jenna sent me a text on Wednesday. "Are you okay? Dad feels bad about what he said." I read it 3 times and then put my phone face down on my desk. I did not reply. By the second week, I started to feel human again. I went to work and actually focused on my projects, instead of constantly checking my phone to see if there was some family emergency I needed to solve. My boss noticed. She stopped by my desk and said, "I seemed more engaged lately." "Whatever you are doing, keep it up," she told me. I just nodded. I contacted my company's employee assistance program and made an appointment with a therapist. Her name was Dr. Patricia Holland, and her office was in a building downtown with big windows that overlooked the park. I sat in a chair across from her and told her everything. About the payments, about the secret, about the confrontation, about the 5 years I had spent erasing myself to keep my family afloat. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she asked me one question. "Why did you hide what you were doing?" I did not have an answer at first. Then it came to me. Because my father's pride was more important than my own. She wrote something in her notebook. Then she looked up at me. "And how did that make you feel?" Like I did not matter. Like my worth was only in what I could provide. "We are going to work on that," she said. I started going to therapy twice a week. I could barely afford it, even with insurance, but it felt necessary. I needed someone to tell me I was not crazy. I needed someone to tell me that what they did to me was wrong. I also moved out of the terrible studio apartment. I found a place in a better neighborhood for $900 a month. It was not fancy, but the locks worked and I did not hear gunshots. I bought real groceries. I cooked actual meals. I remembered what it felt like to eat something other than noodles and rice. The third week, my mother called from a different number. I had blocked my parents' phones, but she used a neighbor's phone. I answered without thinking. "Weston, please call us back. Your father wants to apologize." I deleted the voicemail before she finished the message. I was not ready. Maybe I would never be ready. Then my father called from Mom's phone. I had not blocked hers yet, just his. I saw her name on the screen and almost did not answer, but some old instinct made me pick up. "Your mother wants you to come to Sunday dinner." His voice was stiff, formal, not apologetic, just uncomfortable. "No, thank you." I said it quietly and hung up. It was the first time in my entire life I had refused a direct request from my father. My hands shook after I ended the call. I felt terrified and liberated at the same time. By the 4th week, something shifted at work. My boss called me into her office. I thought I was in trouble. Instead, she offered me a promotion, senior analyst, the position I had been passed over for twice before, 15% raise, and a signing bonus of $10,000. "You have been doing exceptional work lately," she said. "You seem more focused, more confident. Whatever you are doing in your personal life, it is working. Keep it up." I accepted on the spot. That night, I used the signing bonus to pay down my credit card debt. For the first time in 5 years, I slept through the entire night without waking up in a panic about money. But while my life was improving, things at home were falling apart. My parents' mortgage payment bounced. The bank called them asking why the payment had not gone through. My mother checked their account. The automatic deposit they had been receiving for 5 years was gone. She called the insurance company, asking about the supplemental policy. The representative told her there was no such policy. There had never been a supplemental policy. Mom's hands shook as she hung up the phone. She turned to my father. "Where has that money been coming from?" Dad's face went white. He did not answer, because he had just realized the truth. The truth he had been avoiding for 5 years. The truth that was easier not to see. Meanwhile, at State University, Jenna received an email from the financial aid office. "We regret to inform you that your anonymous scholarship has been discontinued. Your account now has an outstanding balance of $14,000 for the spring semester. Payment is due within 2 weeks, or you will be unable to register for classes." Jenna read the email 3 times. Then she called the financial aid office. "There must be a mistake," she said. "I have a merit scholarship." The woman on the phone was patient but firm. "You have never had a merit scholarship. You have been receiving funding from an anonymous donor. That donor has withdrawn their support." Jenna sat in her dorm room, staring at her phone. She tried to understand what was happening. Who had been paying her tuition? Why would they stop? Then, slowly, horribly, she began to put the pieces together. On a Tuesday evening in the 4th week, I was sitting in a real restaurant for the first time in months. Not a fast food place. An actual restaurant with waiters and cloth napkins. I ordered a steak, a real steak, cooked medium rare, with mashed potatoes and vegetables. It cost $32, and I did not even flinch when I saw the price. My phone buzzed. I looked down and saw Jenna's name on the screen. I almost did not answer. My hand hovered over the decline button, but something made me pick up. She was crying so hard she could barely breathe. "Weston, why did the tuition payments stop? They are saying my scholarship is gone. They are saying there never was a scholarship. They are saying someone was paying anonymously, and now the payments stopped. They are going to kick me out of school. I have 2 weeks to pay $14,000 or I cannot register for spring semester. What is happening? I do not understand. Who was paying? Why did they stop? Weston, please, you have to help me figure this out." I listened to her spiral into panic. I felt nothing. No sympathy. No guilt. Just a cold, empty clarity. I did not say anything. I hung up and sent her a text instead. Thought I never gave this family anything. Then I blocked her number. I put my phone face down on the table and cut into my steak. It was perfect. The phone calls started coming from numbers I did not recognize. My mother was calling from neighbors' phones, from her work phone, from random numbers she found. I let them all go to voicemail. I listened to exactly one message before I stopped listening to any of them. "Weston, please, you have to explain what is happening." Her voice was shaking. The mortgage payment bounced. "We got a notice from the bank, and Jenna is being kicked out of school. She says there never was a scholarship. Your father found records. Were you paying? Were you the one sending money all this time? Please call us back. We need to understand." I deleted the voicemail and blocked that number too. But eventually, one call got through. My mother used a number I did not recognize, and I answered it without thinking. The moment I heard her voice, I almost hung up, but she started talking fast, desperately, before I could end the call. "Weston, please, just listen. We found the records. We know it was you. All this time, the insurance payments, Jenna's tuition, it was all you. We did not know. You have to believe us. We did not know." I finally spoke. My voice came out flat and cold. "You did not want to know." There was silence on the other end. I continued. For 5 years, I sent you $4,000 every month. That is $48,000 a year. For 5 years. Do the math, Mom. That is $240,000. I also paid $28,000 a year for Jenna's school. For 3.5 years. That is another $98,000. I gave this family $338,000. I worked 80-hour weeks. I lived in a place with cockroaches. I went into debt, and Dad told me I never gave anything. Mom was crying. Weston, we did not know. You did not ask. You got money every month from a mysterious insurance policy that paid more than any reasonable policy would pay, and you never asked. Because asking would have meant admitting you needed help from your son. Dad's pride was more important than the truth. Please, we want to make this right. You cannot afford to make this right, Mom. I did the math. You could work for 20 years and never pay me back. I hung up before she could respond. 2 days later, my father showed up at my apartment building. I saw him from my window, standing on the sidewalk, looking up at the building like he was not sure which unit was mine. He stood there for 45 minutes, calling my phone over and over. I watched him from behind the curtain. I did not go down. Eventually, I sent him a text. Go home. He looked at his phone. Then he looked up at the building, like he could sense me watching. He texted back. I need to apologize face to face. I replied immediately. You had 5 years to notice. You had 5 years to ask questions. You had 5 years to wonder how a supplemental insurance policy could pay that much for that long. You did not want to see it because seeing it would mean feeling grateful to me. Your pride was more important. His next text came through after a long pause. Please, son. Let me make this right. I typed my response carefully. You cannot afford to make this right. I did the math. Go home. He stood there for another 10 minutes. Then he walked back to his car and drove away. I closed the curtain and sat on my couch. I felt nothing. Over the next weeks, I learned through scattered pieces of information how badly everything was falling apart for them. I did not seek out this information. It came to me anyway, through mutual acquaintances, through people who did not know we were not speaking. The mortgage was now 2 months behind. My parents faced foreclosure proceedings that would begin in 90 days. They had no savings. They had no way to catch up on the payments. The monthly amount they had been getting from me was not just extra money. It had been covering the gap between what they could afford and what they actually owed. Without it, they were drowning. Jenna had to withdraw from State University. She moved back home. According to someone who saw her at the grocery store, she looked devastated, lost. She blamed everyone. She blamed my parents for not having money. She blamed me for cutting them off. She blamed the universe for being unfair. But she did not blame herself for never asking questions. The family dynamic shattered. They fought constantly. Jenna was angry about her lost education. Dad was withdrawn, barely speaking. Mom was trying to hold everyone together, and failing. The house that had once been filled with Sunday dinners and laughter was now filled with silence and resentment. Medical bills started appearing too. Bills I had been quietly paying off without telling anyone. Bills my father thought were taken care of. A collections agency called about $18,000 in outstanding charges from his hospital stay. Dad did not understand. He thought insurance had covered it. Insurance had covered some of it. I had covered the rest. While my family fell apart, my life got better. I started dating someone from work. Her name was Courtney, and she was a project manager in the operations department. She was smart and funny, and thought I was ambitious. We went on actual dates, to restaurants, to movies, to the park on Sunday afternoons. She had no idea about my family situation, and I did not tell her. This part of my life was clean and new and separate. I joined a gym. I started working out 3 times a week. I lost the stress weight I had been carrying. I bought new clothes. I got a haircut at an actual salon instead of the $10 place near my old apartment. People at work noticed. I looked healthier, happier, more confident. I took a weekend trip to the mountains. It was my first vacation in 6 years. I hiked and breathed clean air and slept in a cabin with no Wi-Fi. When I came back, I felt like a different person. My credit score started improving as I paid down my debt. I was making real progress. In 6 months, I had paid off one entire credit card. The balance was 0. I cut the card in half and threw it away. It felt like winning. But underneath the improvements, I felt hollow. Like I was performing wellness instead of actually feeling it. I was free, but I was also alone in a way I had never been before. I had cut off my entire family. I had no siblings anymore. No parents. I was an only child with no childhood. Courtney could sense something was wrong. She would ask me questions about my family, and I would deflect. She asked me what I was doing for Thanksgiving. I told her I did not celebrate. She found that strange, but did not push. 3 months after I walked out of my parents' house, my phone rang from a number I did not recognize. I had stopped answering unknown numbers, but something made me pick up this one. It was a nurse from County General Hospital. "Are you Weston? I am calling about your mother, Patricia. She was brought in 2 hours ago. She has had a stroke. My entire body went cold. Is she okay? She is stable but in serious condition. Your sister is here. She tried calling you but could not reach you. Can you come to the hospital?" I grabbed my keys and ran. When I got to the hospital, I found Jenna in the waiting room. Her eyes were red from crying. When she saw me, she stood up but did not come closer. "It is stress-induced," she said quietly. "The doctor said the stress of the last few months caused it. It is moderate severity. She is stable now, but they are keeping her for observation." "Where is Dad?" "With her. Room 312. I walked down the hallway. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. I found the room and stood in the doorway. My mother was in the bed, hooked up to machines. She looked small and fragile and old. My father sat in a chair beside her, holding her hand. He looked up when I walked in. He looked 10 years older than the last time I saw him. His face was gray, his eyes were hollow. When he saw me, he started crying. Not quiet tears, full, body-shaking sobs. "I am sorry. I am so sorry. I destroyed everything. Your mother is here because of me. Jenna's future is ruined because of me. And you." He could not finish the sentence. I stood there, frozen. My mother's eyes fluttered open. She saw me and tried to smile. "Please," she whispered. Her voice was weak and slurred from the stroke. "Please do not let our family fall apart." I felt the walls I had built around myself start to crack. My father kept crying. "I am sorry. We need you. We need your help. We will pay you back, I promise. Whatever it takes. Just please help us." And there it was. The thing I had been waiting for. The acknowledgement. The apology. The admission that they needed me. I should have felt vindicated. I should have felt powerful. Instead, I felt sick. They still did not understand. They thought this was about money. They thought I could just fix it again, wave a magic wand, make it all better. They thought needing me was the same as valuing me. My father looked up at me with desperate eyes. "Please, Weston, please." I looked at my mother in that hospital bed. I looked at my father, broken and crying, and I realized something horrible. Nothing had changed. They were sorry they got caught. They were sorry they were suffering. But they were not sorry for what they did to me. They still did not see it. "I will help Mom recover," I said quietly. "I will pay the hospital bills. But after that, I am done. You need to figure out your own finances." Dad nodded frantically. Yes, anything. Thank you. Thank you so much." Jenna appeared in the doorway behind me. So you are just going to let me throw away my education? 3 years of college, down the drain? I turned to look at her. You never wondered how you got a full scholarship when your GPA was 2.8. You never questioned it? Her face flushed red. I thought I earned it. You thought you were special. It was easier than asking questions. I walked out of the room before anyone could respond. My mother stayed in the hospital for a week. The stroke had affected her left side, leaving her with weakness in her arm and leg. The doctors said she would recover most of her function with physical therapy, but it would take time and money. The hospital bills came out to $37,000 after insurance. I paid them. I did not even think about it. I just paid them. I visited twice a week during her recovery. I brought books and magazines. I sat with her while she did her exercises with the physical therapist. I watched her struggle to lift a 2-pound weight with her left hand. She cried from frustration. I held her right hand and told her she was doing great. My father was there every day. He was overly grateful, pathetically grateful. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. Thank you for paying the bills. He said it so many times it stopped sounding like gratitude and started sounding like a nervous tick. I found it uncomfortable. This was not the father I knew. The father I knew was proud and stubborn and sure of himself. This man was broken. Jenna avoided me. She came to visit Mom, but when I was there she would make excuses and leave. I knew she resented me. She thought I had the power to fix her life and was choosing not to. She could not see that I had already given her 3.5 years of college. She could only see what I was no longer giving. During the second week of Mom's recovery, Courtney and I had dinner at her apartment. She made pasta and we drank wine, and for a few hours I felt normal. Then she asked about my family. I told her the minimum, that my mother had a stroke, that I was helping with her recovery, that things were complicated. Courtney was sympathetic at first. You are so generous. You are a good son. But as the weeks went on and I kept spending time at the hospital, kept paying bills, kept helping, she grew annoyed. You are still giving them money after what they did to you? My mother almost died. That is not your fault. They are manipulating you. They are not manipulating me. I am choosing to help. You are falling back into the same pattern. Can you not see that? I could see it. Of course I could see it. But what was I supposed to do? Let my mother struggle through physical therapy without help? Let my father drown in medical debt? I was angry at them. I hated what they had done to me. But they were still my family. Courtney and I started fighting more. She thought I was being used. I thought she was being cruel. The relationship started to feel fragile. One evening, about a month after Mom's stroke, my father asked if we could talk. We went to a diner near the hospital. We sat in a booth by the window. He ordered coffee. I ordered nothing. Weston, I need to talk to you about something serious. I waited. The foreclosure is in 30 days. We are going to lose the house. Your mother cannot handle the stress of moving right now. The doctor said any major stress could trigger another stroke. I know I have no right to ask, but could you loan us enough to catch up the mortgage? Just until I can sell my truck, downsize, figure something out. 3 months. That is all I need. How much? $22,000. I felt the trap closing around me again. $22,000. I had been paying down my credit cards. I had almost finished paying off 2 of them. My savings account had $12,000 in it. I was finally building something. And now he was asking me to tear it all down again. I need to think about it. His face fell. Of course. I understand. Take your time. I just wanted you to know the situation. We sat in silence for a while. Then he said, I have a plan. I am going to sell the truck and use that money to help catch up. I am going to get a second job. Your mother is going to start doing bookkeeping from home once she recovers enough. We are going to fix this. I just need a little help to get us through this rough patch. I nodded. I did not believe him. But I nodded. Over the next week, the pressure built. My mother, from her recovery bed at home, brought it up gently. "Weston, I know it is too much to ask, but this house is all we have, all the memories. Your childhood is in these walls." Jenna, suddenly reaching out, sent me a text. "I am sorry I was angry. I get it now. You sacrificed everything. Please do not let them lose the house." My father sent me long text messages about his plan, about how he was going to turn everything around, about how this was the last time he would ever need my help. I talked to my therapist about it. Dr. Holland looked at me with concern. "You are falling back into the same pattern. They have not changed. They are just desperate. But my mother could have another stroke if they lose the house. That is not your responsibility. You cannot set yourself on fire to keep them warm." I went to see Courtney. I told her I was thinking about giving my parents the money. She looked at me like I was crazy. "If you give them that money, we are done. I cannot watch you destroy yourself for people who do not appreciate you." "I understand. Do you? Because I do not think you do. You think you are being noble. You are not. You are being a victim." We argued. She cried. I left. I lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling. I thought about my mother's frail hand in mine. I thought about my father's desperate eyes. I thought about the 5 years I lost. I thought about the debt I was still paying off. I thought about the life I was trying to build. I decided to give them the money. One last time. Just one more time. I called my father the next morning. "I will give you the 22,000, but this is the last time. Do you understand? The last time." "Yes. Yes. I swear. I will pay you back. 6 months, maybe a year. I promise." I went to the bank. I withdrew $22,000 between my savings and a cash advance on my credit card. I felt sick doing it. I met my father at the bank and handed him a cashier's check. He cried with relief. "Thank you. Thank you so much. You are saving us." He nodded. I felt empty. I called Courtney that night. She did not pick up. I sent her a text saying it was over between us. She responded with one word. "Okay." 2 weeks later, I was driving to the grocery store when I passed my parents' house. I saw a truck in the driveway. Not my father's old truck. A new truck. Shiny, black, lifted with big tires, expensive looking. I pulled over. I stared at the truck. I felt my heart start to race. I called my father. "Did you sell your truck?" There was a pause. "Well, not exactly." "What does that mean?" "We needed reliable transportation for your mother's medical appointments. The old truck kept breaking down. This was a good deal. Only $35,000, financed over 7 years. The monthly payments are manageable." I could not speak. My vision was blurring at the edges. "Weston? Are you there? You told me you were going to sell the truck to help with the mortgage. I gave you $22,000. We did use it for the mortgage. We caught up on the payments, like I said, and we needed a safe vehicle for your mother. Her health is the most important thing." I hung up. I sat in my car, shaking. They did it again. They took my money and then spent more money on top of it. They learned nothing. Nothing at all. I drove home. I blocked every family member's number on every platform. I sat on my couch and felt something break inside me that could never be repaired. I changed my phone number the next day. I did not give the new number to anyone in my family. I moved to a different apartment on the other side of town. This one was nicer, safer, closer to work. It cost $1,300 a month, but I did not care anymore. I was done living like I was poor to subsidize people who did not appreciate it. I went to HR at work and updated my emergency contact information. I put down my therapist's office number. When the HR rep looked confused, I said, "I do not have family." She did not ask questions. My family tried to find me. They went to my old apartment. The new tenants did not know who I was. My father came to my workplace. The security guard in the lobby would not let him up without clearance. He stood in the lobby for an hour before security asked him to leave. Jenna created fake social media accounts to message me. I blocked every one of them as soon as I figured out who they were. My mother wrote letters to my old address. They were returned to sender. I started therapy 3 times a week. Dr. Holland diagnosed me with complex trauma from years of family enmeshment and financial abuse. She used terms I had never heard before: emotional blackmail, triangulation, learned helplessness, parentification. She explained that my father's behavior fit patterns of covert narcissism, that he could not handle feeling indebted to me, so he had convinced himself I was the selfish one. It was projection, classic psychological projection. I joined a support group for adult children of narcissistic parents. I sat in a circle in a church basement with 12 other people who had similar stories. We were all trying to untangle ourselves from families who saw us as resources instead of people. I heard stories that made mine look mild. I also heard stories that were almost identical to mine. I realized I was not alone. I realized I was not crazy. I started dating again. Her name was Paige. She was a 3rd-grade teacher at an elementary school across town. She had her own complicated family history. Her mother had been addicted to prescription pills and had stolen money from Paige for years before Paige finally cut her off. We understood each other in a way that felt rare and precious. 4 months after I completely cut off contact, my life was unrecognizable. I had been promoted again at work. I was now making $82,000 a year. My credit cards were almost paid off. I had savings again. I went on a real vacation to the coast with Paige. We stayed in a bed and breakfast and walked on the beach and ate at restaurants without looking at the prices. I barely thought about my family anymore. When I did, I felt nothing. Not anger, not sadness, just a distant, hollow numbness. Then, on a Tuesday afternoon, I got a letter at work. It was delivered by certified mail, which meant I had to sign for it. The return address was a law firm I did not recognize. My hands shook as I opened it. It was a legal notice. My parents were suing me. The letter claimed that I had made verbal promises to continue supporting them financially, that they had relied on these promises to their detriment, that I had a legal obligation to continue providing support. They were suing me for promissory estoppel. They were seeking $150,000 in damages, calculated as 3 years of future support at $4,000 per month, plus legal fees. I read the letter 3 times. I could not believe what I was seeing. They were suing me. After everything, they were actually suing me. I took the letter to a lawyer that same day. My company had a legal assistance program, and they referred me to an employment attorney named Marcus Flynn. His office was downtown in a building with marble floors and expensive art on the walls. I handed him the letter. He read it while I sat across from his desk, trying not to shake. "This is garbage," he said finally. "They have no case. Promissory estoppel requires proof that you made a clear, definite promise that they reasonably relied on to their detriment. You were making anonymous gifts. You were hiding the fact that you were paying. That is not a promise. That is a gift. They cannot sue you for stopping a gift. So I am safe? Legally, yes. But here is the problem. Even a garbage lawsuit costs money to defend. Filing a motion to dismiss costs money. Going to court costs money. They are betting you will settle just to make it go away. It is legal extortion. What are my options? You can fight it. It will cost you about $10,000 in legal fees, but you will win. Or you can settle for nuisance value. Offer them $5,000 just to drop it and go away. Or," he paused, "you can countersue. For what? Emotional distress, financial abuse, fraud, maybe. I would have to research the specifics, but you have documentation, bank records showing years of payments, evidence that you were living in poverty while supporting them, evidence of their recent fraud regarding the truck purchase. You might not win, but it would make their lawsuit very expensive and very public. It would hurt them more than it hurts you. I thought about it. How much would a countersuit cost? More than a defense, maybe $20,000. But it would send a message. I will fight the lawsuit, I said. No settlement. I want to fight. Marcus nodded. Good. I will file a motion to dismiss. This will probably be over in 3 months. I left his office feeling vindicated. They wanted to play legal games? Fine, I would win. But 3 days later, I got a phone call that changed everything. It was from County General Hospital again. A different social worker this time. Is this Weston? I am calling about Jenna. Your sister. My blood ran cold. What happened? She was in a serious car accident. She is in critical condition. We have been trying to reach your parents, but their phones are disconnected. You are listed as her secondary emergency contact. Can you come to the hospital? I was in my car before I even hung up the phone. When I got to the hospital, I found my parents in the waiting room. They had been there for hours. Their phones had been shut off because they could not pay the bill. They had given the hospital the wrong number in their panic. My father saw me and broke down completely. Thank God you came. We did not know how to find you. She might not make it. What happened? She was driving to a second job interview. A drunk driver ran a red light, hit her on the driver's side. She has been in surgery for 3 hours. My mother was crying silently. Her face was still slightly asymmetrical from the stroke. She looked ancient, broken. A doctor came out. He looked exhausted. Are you the family? We all nodded. Jenna is stable, but she has multiple internal injuries, and her spine was damaged. She is paralyzed from the waist down. My mother made a sound like an animal in pain. The doctor continued. We need to do another surgery, a specialist procedure. It might restore some function, but we need to do it within the next 48 hours. The cost is approximately $120,000. Do you have insurance? My father's face went gray. We let it lapse. We could not afford the premiums after we bought the truck. The horrible irony was not lost on anyone. The doctor looked at us with sympathy. I am sorry. We will keep her stable. But without the surgery, she will most likely never walk again. He left us sitting there in the waiting room. My father grabbed my arm. I know you hate me. I know we do not deserve your help. But please, please, do not let your sister die because of my mistakes. I pulled my arm away. She is not dying. She is paralyzed. Please, Weston. Please. We will drop the lawsuit. We will do anything. Just help her. I stood up and walked away. I needed air. I needed to think. I went outside and called Marcus Flynn. I need to settle the lawsuit. Today, whatever they want, just make it go away. Weston, that is insane. You will win. My sister is paralyzed. They cannot pay for her surgery. I do not care anymore. Settle it. There was a long pause. How much are you willing to pay? Everything. My savings. Everything. That is $50,000. You are letting them rob you. I do not care. Do it. He did it. By the end of the day, the lawsuit was dismissed. I signed over $50,000. My entire savings. Gone. But it was not enough. Not even close. Jenna needed $120,000 for the surgery. Even with my $50,000 from the settlement, my parents had nothing. They had no credit left. No assets, except the house, which had no equity, and the truck, which was worth less than they owed on the loan. I did the brutal math in my head. I would need another $70,000. It was impossible. I sat in the hospital cafeteria at 2 in the morning, drinking terrible coffee and staring at my phone. I opened my banking app. After settling the lawsuit, I had $800 left in checking, zero in savings. I had 3 credit cards that I had worked so hard to pay off. I could max them out again. That would give me maybe $30,000 if I got the limits increased. Still not enough. I called my bank's customer service line. I asked about personal loans. The representative told me I could qualify for a $40,000 loan at 12% interest. The monthly payment would be $850 for 5 years. I called my credit card companies. I asked them to increase my limits. 2 of them agreed. 1 did not. I looked at my retirement account. I had $32,000 in my 401k. If I cashed it out, I would take a massive tax penalty. I would lose about $10,000 to penalties and taxes, but I would have $22,000 in cash. I did more math. Personal loan, $40,000. Credit cards maxed out, $33,000. Retirement account, $22,000. That gave me $95,000. Still not enough. I called the hospital financial counselor. I explained the situation. She was kind but firm. The surgery costs $120,000. But if you can guarantee payment in full, I can offer you a 30% discount for paying in cash up front. That would bring it down to $84,000. I felt my chest tighten. $84,000. I could do that. Barely. If I destroyed my entire financial future, I will do it, I said. I spent the next 6 hours on the phone. I took out the personal loan. I maxed out every credit card. I cashed out my retirement account. By noon, I had $84,000 in my checking account. I called the hospital and authorized the payment. The surgery was scheduled for that evening. I sat in the waiting room with my parents while Jenna was in surgery. Nobody spoke. My father stared at the floor. My mother held a tissue in her shaking hand. I felt completely numb. After 4 hours, the surgeon came out. The surgery went well. We were able to relieve the pressure on her spine. The prognosis is cautiously optimistic. With intensive physical therapy, she has about a 60% chance of regaining significant mobility. She may walk again, but it will take time. Months, maybe years. My mother sobbed with relief. My father just nodded, like he was too tired to feel anything. Jenna was moved to recovery. She was unconscious, hooked up to machines, wrapped in bandages. I stood in the doorway and looked at her. My little sister. She was 22 years old. Her whole life was ahead of her, and I had just destroyed mine to give her a chance at that life. I went back to the cafeteria. It was 3 a.m. I opened my banking app. My checking account showed a balance of negative $200 because of overlapping transactions. 7 credit cards maxed out at a combined balance of $33,000. A personal loan with monthly payments of $850 for the next 5 years. My retirement account was empty. I was 30 years old. I had destroyed my financial life twice for these people. My father found me sitting there. He sat down across from me without asking. We sat in silence for a long time. Then he slid something across the table. A notebook. I found this in Jenna's apartment when we went to get her things. Her journal. She wrote about you. Page 47. I did not want to open it, but I did. The entry was dated 3 months earlier, right around the time I had cut them all off. I hate what I have become. I am so angry at Weston for cutting us off, but I understand why. I have been thinking about when I got the scholarship letter freshman year. I was so proud. But I remember the letter said, anonymous donor, not merit scholarship. I told everyone it was merit because it sounded better. I knew deep down someone was paying. I suspected it was Weston, but I never asked, because then I would have to feel guilty. I would have to acknowledge that I was taking from him, just like Mom and Dad took. We all knew, did we not? We all knew something was wrong with the insurance payments. The way they appeared right after Weston got his job, the amounts were too perfect. too consistent. But we did not ask, because if we asked, we would have to stop taking, and taking was easier. I am not a good person. None of us are. Weston was the only good person in this family, and we bled him dry. And when Dad said those terrible things to him, I said nothing. I am a coward and a parasite, just like Dad accused Weston of being. The projection was so obvious. How did we not see it? I do not know how to make this right. I do not know if I can, but I know I am going to try. I am going to get a job. I am going to pay him back somehow, even if it takes the rest of my life. I read the entry twice. Then I looked up at my father. His face was destroyed, ravaged by tears and exhaustion and shame. She knew, he said quietly. We all knew. We did not want to see it because seeing it would make us monsters. But we are monsters, Weston. We took and told ourselves we deserved it. And you just saved her life anyway. After we sued you. After we took everything. You saved her anyway. He started crying. Not quiet tears. Deep, wrenching sobs. I do not understand how you can be this good when we are this terrible. I felt something break open in my chest. Not forgiveness, not reconciliation, but understanding. They were not evil. They were weak. They were human. They were broken people who broke me because they could not help themselves. They were drowning people who pulled me under to save themselves. And I had saved Jenna anyway. Not because they deserved it, not because she deserved it, but because I could not live with myself if I did not. That was the difference between us. That was what my father never understood. Giving is not about the other person deserving it. It is about being able to live with yourself. It is about being the person you want to be, regardless of whether anyone notices or appreciates it. I looked at my father. I am not a good person. I am just a person who could not let my sister be paralyzed because you bought a truck. That is what makes you good. No. It is what makes me unable to be like you. He nodded. He understood. I left the hospital at dawn. The sky was turning pink and orange over the city. I drove to my apartment and fell asleep in my clothes. When I woke up, it was afternoon. I had 17 missed calls. I ignored all of them. I called Marcus Flynn and told him what I had done. He was silent for a long time. You gave them everything, he said finally. I gave my sister a chance to walk again. That is not the same thing. I know, but it was the same thing. It had to be. 3 months after Jenna's surgery, she was in intensive physical therapy 5 days a week. She had regained feeling in her legs. Small movements, tiny victories. The physical therapist said she was responding better than expected. She might walk again, maybe with a cane, maybe without. Time would tell. My parents' lives had changed completely. My father sold the new truck. He took a huge loss on it because he owed more than it was worth, but he used the money to pay me back $1,500. It was a tiny fraction of what they owed me, but it was something. It was the first time he had ever paid me back anything. He got a second job working nights at a warehouse. He was 56 years old, loading boxes for $12 an hour. My mother, recovered enough to work, started doing bookkeeping from home for small businesses. She made about $20 an hour. Jenna, from her hospital bed, and then from her wheelchair, started tutoring kids online in math. She made $15 an hour. They were drowning, barely surviving, but they were trying. I was back in a smaller apartment. Not as bad as my first terrible studio, but not nice either. I was back to ramen and rice most nights, back to counting pennies, back to lying awake at night doing math in my head, trying to figure out how to make the numbers work. The credit card payments alone were eating me alive. The personal loan payment was $850 a month. I was working 60-hour weeks again, but something was different this time. I was not hiding it. My coworkers knew, my friends knew, Paige knew everything, and nobody thought less of me. In fact, my boss called me into her office one day and told me something that changed everything. What you did for your family, that is character. Real character. Not many people would do that. You are getting the promotion to director. It comes with a 40% raise. That brings you to $115,000 a year, plus a $20,000 signing bonus. You have earned it. I took the promotion. The signing bonus paid off 3 of my credit cards completely. The raise meant I could breathe for the first time in months. I could see the end of the debt now. Maybe 5 years. Maybe 4 if I was aggressive. But I could see it. 6 months after the accident, Jenna could walk with a walker. It was slow and painful, but she could do it. My parents brought her to my apartment for the first time. She had insisted on coming. She sat on my couch and cried. I read what you are living like. I cannot believe you went back into debt for me. After everything we did, you are my sister. I do not deserve you. Nobody deserves anybody. That is not how love works. My father spoke up. His voice was rough and tired. I have been going to therapy. My therapist says I have narcissistic tendencies, that I could not handle feeling indebted to my own son, so I convinced myself you were the selfish one. I projected my failures onto you. I am not expecting forgiveness. I just wanted you to know. I am trying to understand why I destroyed the best person in my life. My mother added, we are selling the house. We cannot afford it anymore, and we should not try. The money from the sale will go to you. Every penny. I shook my head. Keep enough to rent something decent. Give me the rest. But that is not fair to you. That is the deal. Take it or leave it. They took it. 1 year after I walked out of my parents' house, the house sold. After paying off the mortgage, they had $63,000 left. They gave it to me. It was not enough to cover what I had spent, but it paid off 3 more credit cards. My director's salary meant I could finally save money again. I still had debt, but I could see the light now. We did not see each other every week anymore. Maybe once a month, sometimes less. But when we did meet, it was honest. No more secrets, no more pretending. My father apologized constantly at first. Too much, really. Finally, I told him the truth. Stop apologizing and just be better. Apologies without change are just manipulation. He stopped apologizing. Instead, he showed up. He fixed my car for free when the transmission started acting up. He helped me move to a better apartment when my lease was up. He babysat for Paige's sister when we needed a night out. Actions, not words. Jenna finished her degree online, a different school. She paid for it herself with financial aid and money from 2 part-time jobs. It took her an extra year, but she graduated with honors. At her graduation, she gave a speech. She mentioned the anonymous donor who taught her the real meaning of sacrifice. Everyone in the audience thought she meant some scholarship fund. I sat in the back row and knew better. 2 years after I walked out, I married Paige. The wedding was small, just close friends. My parents were there. Jenna was there, walking down the aisle with just a slight limp. At the reception, my father gave a toast. My son is twice the man I will ever be. I spent his whole life trying to make him small, because his goodness made me feel inadequate. I am grateful he did not let me succeed. Weston, you saved our family. But more than that, you saved yourself. You set boundaries. You demanded respect. And you taught us that love is not about sacrifice. It is about dignity. Thank you for not giving up on us, even when we gave up on you. Later that night, Paige asked me if I regretted any of it. I regret hiding what I was doing. I regret enabling their denial. I regret sacrificing my dignity for their comfort. But saving Jenna? Giving them a chance to change? No, I do not regret that. I did not do it for them. I did it because I could not live with myself if I did not. That is the real lesson. You do not give because people deserve it. You give because you deserve to live in alignment with your values. My value is that family matters, even when it is hard. But I also learned that boundaries matter more. You can love people and still protect yourself. You can give and still demand respect. The two are not mutually exclusive. Now, at 32 years old, I stand in my apartment. It is nice, not fancy, but safe and comfortable. Jenna is teaching at an elementary school, walking without assistance. My parents live in a modest rental and are financially stable for the first time in years. My father texts me every week, nothing big, just checking in. My mother sends pictures of the garden she planted. I am still paying off debt. I probably will be until I am 37, but I am okay with that, because I did it on my terms this time. I helped without destroying myself. I gave without losing myself. Paige comes up behind me and wraps her arms around my waist. What are you thinking about? How my dad was wrong. About what? He said I never gave anything to the family. Truth is, I gave everything. But the real gift was not the money. It was showing them what integrity looks like, what boundaries look like, what self-respect looks like. They are better people now because I refuse to enable them anymore. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is letting them face the consequences of their actions. That is real love. The truth is simple. True generosity is not martyrdom. It is giving from a place of strength, not weakness. It is loving people enough to let them struggle when they need to struggle. It is setting boundaries that protect your dignity while offering help that maintains theirs. My family fell apart without me because they needed to fall apart. They needed to hit bottom to rebuild on solid ground. And I needed to walk away to learn that my worth was not defined by what I could give, but by who I chose to be. I fought back not with cruelty, but with boundaries. I won not by destroying my family, but by saving myself. And in doing so, I gave them the greatest gift possible, the chance to become people worthy of my sacrifice. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever been in a situation where your family took advantage of your generosity? Where you gave and gave until there was nothing left, and they still asked for more? How did you handle it? Did you set boundaries, or did you keep giving? And for those of you who have cut off toxic family members, do you regret it, or was it the best decision you ever made? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button. It helps more people find these stories and know they are not alone in what they are going through. And if you have not already, subscribe to the channel. I share stories like this every week. Stories about real struggles, real pain, and real survival. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. And finally, if you know someone who needs to hear this story, someone who is struggling with family boundaries or feels guilty for protecting themselves, please share this with them. Sometimes, we need to know that someone else walked this path before us and survived. That it is okay to choose yourself. That saying no is not selfish. It is survival. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. I hope wherever you are, whatever you are going through, you find the strength to protect yourself while still being kind. You find the courage to set boundaries while still showing love. And you find the peace that comes from knowing you did the right thing, even when it was the hardest thing. Take care of yourselves. You deserve it.